for clerks and officials. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's welcome our chairperson for this afternoon session, Ms. Ngangwa Dlamini. I can see our chairperson has a lot of fans. Delegates from Eswatini, shall we make some noise for our chairperson? Thank you very much. Madam Chairperson, I believe you accept wholeheartedly to chair this afternoon session. Very well, thank you, we are grateful. So, ladies and gentlemen, we take the first presentation for this afternoon. It is a demonstration of automatic transcription, and it will be led by Mr. Leslie Nite Adiko. Mr. Leslie Nite Adiko is a director of ICT at the Parliamentary Service of Ghana with over 20 years experience delivering innovative and secure ICT and telecommunication solutions across public, private, and international sectors. He has led transformative projects, including the operationalization of Parliament's cybersecurity unit, deployment of an enterprise resource planning system, and implementation of a state-of-the-art chamber conferencing system. Mr. Adiko holds an MA in IT law from His career spans senior roles at Wapik Insurance, Airtel Tigo, Airtel Ghana, Vodafone Ghana, Mawali Engineering, Techno Systems, and GIFIC, with achievements recognized through multiple industry awards. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, shall we welcome Mr. Leslie Tay Adiko.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. At a point, I was thinking whether it's me until you mentioned my name. Before I start, I would want to start recording whatever we'll be doing, so at the end of the day, we'll attempt to transcribe. Even though it's going to be a demonstration, we'll give a little background, and then we'll go into the actual demonstration. I don't want to be too technical. We just want to see the results, we'll analyze, we'll see the error rates, and all that. Okay, so thank you very much once again. So the topic for discussion is a demonstration of AI-powered automatic transcription tools. We'll have a quick intro, then we'll look at how transcription have evolved over the years, and then we'll look at the requirements for automatic transcription. Then we'll go into the demo, then we look at the way forward, and then we conclude. So basically, automatic transcription is simply the use of artificial intelligence, particularly automatic speech recognition. So you need a tool to be able to recognize speech, and then you also need what we call natural language processing. Typically, computers don't understand or process natural language. Computers will normally deal in zeros and ones, binary digits. But then with the advancement of AI, a computer is able to understand the language and respond or react accordingly. So if you want to be able to transcribe, it means that you need a certain model to be able to understand whether it's English or French or German or whatever language, and then understand the context as well. Also, in parliamentary context, this technology is revolutionizing how proceedings are documented for plenary sittings and committee meetings. In fact, according to the World e-Parliament report, as at last year, about 20% of parliaments are using a form of AI technology in their transcription. It might not be full end-to-end, but then a certain section of their Hansard work is being done using AI technology. And then 10% of parliaments are using it for translations. So there are some parliaments, as you know, that probably are bilingual or multilingual. So AI also, apart from transcribing, it can also translate between different languages. And then according to the survey, about 44% of the respondents indicated that they plan to adopt AI in the coming years. So it's likely to be adopted by most parliaments. I don't know which parliaments here are currently using a form of AI in their transcription. Is there any parliament here? I'm sure very soon it will catch up with us as well. So before automatic transcription, I mean, there has been manual transcription using stenograph machines, typewriters. We have used recorders in the past, and then not too long ago, or even currently, we have softwares that aid the transcription process. So in Parliament, we have used, in the Parliament here in Ghana, we have used FTR for the records, and we have also used VIQ, and there are others like VIQ NetScribe, there's Slick Scribe, and a whole lot. Those tools would normally help with some annotation, some indexing to help you do your transcription. But at the end of the day, a human being will have to do the listening and then the typing. Now we have moved to an era where AI at least will do the first line reporting, and then subsequently editing will be done, proofreading, until you get a final product. And as if AI is not enough, we are not going to end with AI, but then there is new development where we are looking at neural link, where the brain is, we have chips planted into the brain so that the brain can pick signals, or even before you speak, whatever your thoughts are will be signaled over internet or the Wi-Fi. So it will get to a point where the audio will not be the input source, but then the thoughts of the person will be picked. And then people will not read like we normally read. The information will just be transferred if you have that chip, and then everything enters your head. So that's the direction we are headed. Whether it's ethical or not is another question. Now, to be able to do automatic transcription, certain things, you require certain things. Like I initially said, the ASR, the automatic speech recognition, is a model that recognizes speech and understands the speech and is able to convert the speech to text. Then speaker diarization. So if you have a conference or a sitting of parliament, you have several members who will speak. So you want to be able to distinguish and label different speakers so that the final product that counts is able to identify which honorable member said what and what maybe the speaker or the chair said and all that. Then if you are able to distinguish, you also should be able to identify. So you do voice training. If you have a house of about, in our case, 276 MPs, if you want to introduce such a thing, you have to have a model where you input the speeches of all the members of parliament, and then you categorize them, you identify them. So the AI will be able to recognize immediately they are on the floor, to the extent that people pronounce certain words differently, accent and all that. So once you profile all the members in the system, it's able to identify their voice first, and it's able to pick up certain things, the way they pronounce certain words, without which you realize when we do the transcription, you realize that certain words might not come out well. And that's where the editing or proofreading will be required. Then also, there is this tool, retrieval augmented generation. In the transcription, there are certain vocabularies that are peculiar to certain areas of, specialty. So you can create a vocabulary library and input it into the system. So in Parliament, there are certain words that normally come very often. So you don't want the AI to be making mistake or thinking it is something else. So once you build that vocabulary, the AI learns and then it becomes smarter. Then of course, at the end of everything, you need a high fidelity audio conference system, because the AI or the ASR needs to hear the words clearly. So you have to use conference devices that produce high quality audio. Otherwise, you might run into trouble. So it is very crucial, and I'm sure most of our parliaments have some very good quality conference system. So with that, I don't think it should be a problem. So there are so many tools for transcription. We have Amazon Transcribe, there is Google Transcribe, Microsoft also has, and there are other smaller companies that also do this kind of transcription. It comes at a cost. So far, I think Amazon has a very competitive pricing. With the Amazon Transcribe, for every hour, you are charged about 14.44 cents. So we did some rough back the envelope calculation for our parliament. In fact, we had earlier on attempted to secure a solution from a company in Canada. But the solution was very expensive because so there are two ways of implementing the AI solution. You can go for a full-fledged workflow with the AI that helps you do your transcription end-to-end. Or you can subscribe to an AI transcription service like Amazon, Microsoft, and the rest, and those are reasonably cheap. And then on top of that, the way you work, your workflow, you can develop an in-house software, because the key thing is the transcription, which the AI can handle, and then the workflow in terms of the users, your reporters, sub-editors, your editors, everybody will have access to the system, and then the work will flow. So with Amazon, when we did a calculation for chamber, for the plenary and then committees and all that, for a whole year, we are looking at 1625 hours, and what it will cost will be about $2,340 for a whole year to do that transcription, and that's about somebody's salary for just a month. So now we'll look at the demonstration itself. Let me go to, so I attempted to stream whilst we were having the meeting. So I just stopped. I hope you can see. So this is the output. Thank you very much once again. So the topic for discussion is demonstration of AI-powered automatic transcription tools. We'll have a quick intro. So you can see whatever I've said in the last It's not too clear. Is it better now? Is it okay? We'll have a quick intro, then we'll look at how transcription. So you can see an error here, how transcription have evolved over the years. And we look at the requirements for automatic transcription. Then we go into the demo. Then we look at way forward. It has written way forward. So it's not 100%, but at least it gives you something to start with. And then as you train it the more and you do the correction, it has a feedback loop mechanism, then it gets perfect. So, I mean, it's real time. As we speak, it is doing the transcription. And like I said, you can have it in a workflow. You create folders, whoever has to work on it. You can have your takes in chunks of whatever. And then as the meeting progresses, the transcription is happening. It moves to the next level. And then by the time the meeting is over and you click stop, maybe give yourself another 5 or 10 minutes. At least you have some drafts that you can further work and improve. But you can also see it's not 100%. I saw some other error. So in parliamentary contexts, it should be context. I hope you can see. According to the World e-Parliament reports, as of last year, about 20% of parliaments are using a form of AI technology in their transcription. So basically, whatever I have said here has been transcribed, but it might not be 100%. It needs further improvement. So that's how the system works. And apart from the real time, you could also create jobs. Okay, let me download first. So whatever has been transcribed, you can download. It normally would download into a JSON file because it's not a final product. A JSON file is an open file for different systems to communicate. It will not store it into Word, but it stores it in that file because it gives you a breakdown of the confidence level of each word. So the highest confidence level can be 1, the lowest is 0. So you can have a software to check word by word. If the confidence level is high, it means the likelihood of it being correct is okay. So the software, you can write a code that gives you a feedback. So when it comes to the one doing the editing, certain words can be tagged or flagged so that it tells you that the system itself doesn't believe so much what it has done. So it gives you indication. If it's 99.99%, it will be green. If it's like 0.55, then it will be flagged. So that helps you when you are doing the editing. And then, like I said, you can also create jobs, but I don't want to go into this because for you as Hansard people, this software is this is just a tool that will feed into the final software that might sit in front of you. But just so you get to know how or what errors there are, so that when you are working, you know that it's not a perfect system, but it can be optimized to get better and better. So let me go back to the slides. Or before then, let me just show. So I did some transcription also of this morning's session, day 2. So this was this morning. Is it clear enough? Let me try. So forget about the tax and all those things. After transcript, this is where the real thing is. We would like to find out from our chairperson if she has agreed or accepted to be our chair for the day. That was this morning. Thank you. Shall we give it to her for accepting to be a chair? Yes, so ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So blah, blah, blah. And what you can also do, I didn't enable the speaker selection parameter. You can, if we're creating the jobs, you can select, if you have a parliament of 275, you select 275, you can input their names, and you would have trained them and all that. So in that case, it will give you which speaker said something, and then it goes to another paragraph and all those details. But then when I was reviewing, so if you look at where I've highlighted yellow, he also held the position of president of CHEA. So he couldn't get it right. That's where you build a vocabulary. So you could have built a vocabulary where you've inputted CHEA, and then you spell CHEA how the ordinary person will spell. So it's like a table. You have the spelling here and then the word that it has to be. So if it says CHEA, it knows it's CHEA, and it will spell it rightly. So in the same CHEA, at a point, it saw it as CHA, CHA, depending on how it is pronounced. So those are the errors that we have to be mindful of. And then navigating Hansard reporting in the tech era or something it should have been. Yeah, so those are a few. Then I don't know whether, normally names, it might not get the names right. So the names, you have to build a vocabulary for the names. Alhaji Abu Dahamani Saka. I don't know whether it's right. Is he here? It is left, yeah. And then you see we have evolution of Hansard. See the way he spelled the Hansard. So those are the errors. It's not human like you and I. It has to be trained. But then even without any training, it's getting some of the things right. Yeah, so basically that is what the AI can do as far as transcription is concerned. Let me move quickly to conclude. So the way forward, we are saying to adapt AI-powered transcription, we need to integrate the ASR, that is the tool I just displayed. It could be Amazon Transcribe or any of the other tools. You can integrate it into your workflow or whatever software you have, and then your parliamentary language, your vocabulary, and all those things would have to be integrated into it if you want to have a very good system. Also, like I said, the audio equipment you use is very crucial. If the audio is not good, you will have a lot of errors. The audio should be high fidelity audio system. Then the transcription tool is not going to do everything for you. There has to be a collaboration. So the people would have to adopt and be willing to let the AI facilitate their work. Otherwise, it will not work. So the AI can do a quick draft, and then you take it out from there and review until you get the final draft. So a hybrid, not a full transcription, a hybrid is good for the start. You have to check the accuracy level. If it is high enough, then you can fully adopt. Also, there has to be a policy. Normally, when you want to introduce AI, you have to have some policy guideline. You talk about you need to know the error rates that is acceptable, and data privacy issues, and a whole lot of things. So there has to be benchmarks for quality acceptability error rates, and all that. The system gives you the error rates by itself, like the perceived error rates. But you also have to have a feedback. As you correct, you feed it back. Then it knows that, oh, I did this, but this was the outcome. Then the system will automatically learn, and then it gets better and gives better output. So in conclusion, we will say to future-proof verbatim reporting in the age of AI-assisted transcription, Parliament must invest in capacity building, embrace emerging technologies like ASR, speaker diarization, and contextual AI, and establish feedback loops. The feedback loops are very, very important, without which your accuracy level will remain at the same spot. But with the right feedback, there will be improvement. Interparliamentary collaboration and clear quality benchmarks will foster innovation and consistency. This integrated approach will elevate the Hansard profession and enhance the transparency and efficiency of legislative documentation. So a few references, and then questions, discussions, food for thought. Are you ready to be part of the AI transcription revolution, or will you watch it unfold in the sidelines? Thank you.
Can we please appreciate him one more time? Thank you very much. That was a very interesting presentation. I find it's particularly interesting that we are moving towards a world where very soon we'll be able to transfer our thoughts to one another without saying a word. Interesting, right? Okay, so before we go on, just a few announcements. In the course of our presentations, if you have any question, kindly note them down, and then at the end we'll take all the questions so that our resource persons can give us answers. Also, I'm sure you have noticed that there's this scannable sheet or QR code on our various tables. It is the training. If you scan this, you'll have access to the training calendar for the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training, right? So it has a training calendar for various training programs that they have upcoming from this year all the way to 2026, and other very interesting information concerning them. So if there's anything that you're interested in, and then you can follow up on that. We're moving on to our next presentation for the day. This presentation will be delivered by Professor Nyokabi Kamau. Professor Kamau is a career and life coach. She is also a mediator and an educationist. Currently, she serves as the Executive Director for the Center of Parliamentary Studies and Training, with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry. She's a skilled coach, and she's also skilled in fundraising and in management. She's also a very strong business development professional who has a master's and a doctorate that are both focused in education policy and gender from the University of London Institute of Education. Her presentation is going to be on the Center for Parliamentary Service and Training Beyond 2030, Opportunities for African Parliaments. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Nyokabi Kamau to give us our 7th presentation for the day.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Madam. I had shared my presentation, if you can put it up. Before I begin to speak, I want to recognize the Kenyan delegation. Please stand up, and you should have clapped for me the way the Swazis. Clap for their session chair. That's a Kenyan delegation. I think we were more. Where are the county assembly people? Simameni. Yesterday when I was sitting at the back there, thank you, Kenya. I said, Kenya has a big delegation. Then the person sitting next to me said, because we are rich. See, we accept that we are rich. Okay, thank you so much, Kenyan team. As you've heard, I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training. And having listened to the AI component, I can see there's a lot of work out for us on issues of training and capacity building, because we don't even know. We stand here not even knowing what the training needs and what capacity building needs for 2030 and beyond are going to look like. Recently, we speaking to some professors in the top universities, McGill, Harvard, and they say they do not know the jobs of the future. You sit here, you're calling yourself Hansard officers, you're editors, you're transcribers. What will be your job in 2035? We can't even begin to tell, because it is like a secretary, traditional secretary 20 years ago. If you went to offices, there was a typewriter everywhere, isn't it? 30 years ago. Typewriters, every office before you set up was a typewriter, a fax machine. What else was there? A telephone. You know the usual telephone. They had all those things now, those shops have closed. Like nobody is buying or selling a typewriter. So it then means the training needs of the future are probably not. Do you have the presentation, please? If you could, I would be grateful. Okay. Right, yes, there it is. Then you can be moving for me, or I can use this. Is this working? Let's see. Okay, good. So the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training, that is the Parliament of Kenya. Many of you in this room have probably visited the Parliament of Kenya. That's our newest establishment called the Bunge Tower, meaning the Parliament Tower. And the CPST is located not far away from the Bunge Tower. The Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training, I'll give you the governance, I'll give you establishment and mandate, I'll give you a snapshot of our training programs, I'll tell you a little bit about our research and publications, and I'll give you a list of the webinar series that we plan to run in the current financial year, which for Kenya and I think East Africa region starts in July to June 2026. Our mandate, when were we established? We were established actually in 2008, and those of you who have PTIs, Parliamentary Training Institutes, you know many of them have been established by the parliaments as in-house training arms of the parliament. For Kenya, the decision was made in the year 2008 that it was important for the Parliament of Kenya to have an in-house training institution. And this came from, if you look at executives, they'll have a school of government. I believe maybe in your countries there is a school of government. Ghana, you have a school of government? You do? Kenya has a school of government. I think Malawi, I know Malawi, they have a school of government. Various countries do. But not many countries had a school of parliament. So the thinking that time was that even when parliamentarians and staff went to the school of government, the training was not as relevant for them as it was for the executive teams. So our mandate when we were set up was basically capacity building for members of parliament, capacity building for staffs of parliament. Come 2012 in Kenya, in the case of Kenya, we then got established 47 new parliaments. They are county legislatures. So in Kenya, we have parliaments which are 49, 2 at national level, 47 at the county level. So our training target group increased from something like 1,000 in the year 2012 to over 10,000 in terms of members and staffs who work in legislatures. But then our mandate goes beyond national parliament, and it goes to regional parliaments, and it goes to other stakeholders. Those are other people who do not work in parliament but work with. They don't work in parliament, but they work with parliaments. So those become our other stakeholders. We also have the mandate to partner with other institutions, both other parliaments and institutions of higher learning. Our direction in terms of strategic governance and direction is to become a global center of excellence in legislative leadership and governance. So that is our goal. We started small with Kenya. We now are already going global, and I'll speak to that a little bit as we move on. How we intend to go global is even in terms of physical infrastructure. What you see there, if this bottom there, we are putting up an excellent modern facilities. You can see that. So we are going to be having about 75, it will be a conference center bigger than Lisa Hotel. In terms of the conference facilities, in terms of accommodation, in terms of mute chamber that can accommodate up to 500. It has a separate former members club with swimming pools and just a lot of facilities that you can come. When other parliaments wants to do training, CHEA and other associations can come and hire the facility in a parliamentary place where you can actually have a mute chamber. That's the future of CPST. When we say we are global, the Parliamentary Service Commission of Kenya is investing for a global parliamentary institute. How do we offer training? We have 3 ways of offering training. We have what we call demand. Anyone can request. And a lot of you, Ghana, you have requested for trainings for your people. We have supply. We supply, and what you have on the QR code is the courses we are offering to supply for the financial year. So they'll be available on request, but you can also request. That's what we call demand. You can request, we do supply, and we can collaborate. So if the Hansard Association wants us to have a proper structured training on AI, we can collaborate with you and run the program together, and you leave with a certificate from a globally recognized training institution. In terms of our thematic areas, they're lined up there. It's basically the issues that parliaments work with, which is oversight, legislation, and budget making. So those are the 3 areas. And then we look at human resource administration, key in parliaments, and we also look at cross-cutting issues, emerging issues, like the ones we're talking about, ICT, gender issues, security, all these emerging issues, then we call them cross-cutting. In terms of supply base, we just picked out 1 there for Hansard officers, and I'm hoping you're going to be applying for these courses. We are going to be responding to them. Our training calendar, I will not go to it in details, but let me mention some of them. Some of you have enjoyed the training on trainers that we offer in Kenya. This is our flagship program. We run 2 of them every year, and I would encourage you, if you want to develop your skills as a trainer in the space of parliamentary training, please, you can apply now for a program we are running in September. It's a locally CPST-run training of trainers. Then in November, we are going to have what we call the Master TOT. I think the director of the PTI speaking after me has done the Master TOT. For that one, you are certified by one of our partners, the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, UNITA, a very comprehensive program that will run in Mombasa in November this year. So we have all these other programs. They are in your QR code. I don't want to repeat them. So those are the programs. I don't need to go through them because of time. We highlight the course. We highlight the overview. We give you the dates and the benefits that we hope you get from that course. That's our training calendar. Those are our partners at the moment. That is going to grow. We have partners that we have signed agreements with, but we also have loose partnerships. Loose is where we come and agree to run this, and then we part ways. But then if we realize we work well together, we can actually make it more structured through a memorandum of understanding. In terms of research and publications, dear colleagues, I want to mention that we are very proud that the Commission, Parliamentary Service Commission of Kenya, this year approved what we call a fellowship program. This fellowship program, of course, currently only open to Kenyans, but it will be something you can learn from your own parliaments, because we want to really take parliament to the people and bring people to parliament. So it's in 3 ways. There's a normal internship. Then there's one we call just a research fellow. That is someone who has done a master's degree in the area of parliament or political science and they want to experience a little bit of working in a parliament, we give them 2 years to work in the CPST as a research fellow, assistant fellow. Senior fellows are those who have finished their PhD and they come for a postdoctoral fellowship. At the CPST, they spend 2 years, we pay them a fairly nice stipend, and then they come and they're able to publish their work. Now, when they publish their work, we now have a journal, and the journal becomes the channel through which this work can be published. Even yourselves here, we were discussing with you when you're in Mombasa, that if you make a formal request to your president to do a special issue for Hansard editors around the continent, we can do a special issue of the journal. Getting your articles published in a journal is not easy, but now we have our own parliamentary journal that we have already established an editorial team, and we'll be publishing your papers. Just request us and we can do a special publication for you. So we are giving everyone a platform to be able to make parliamentary work professional. I think one of the challenges sometimes you have is to say, am I a professional parliamentary officer? Can someone recognize? Is this something you can quote and probably write on, even if you have to move on after retirement to become an academic? We also do webinar series. That's a way of also our public trust in Kenya and beyond. The next webinar series. And I would request that if you could zoom in there and scan that code and register for this webinar. These ones, we are running it with an organization in Geneva called Prevention of Mother and Newborn Health. We are talking about the role of legislatures in driving healthcare financing. This one you should attend. Some of these are top people coming to speak about the key issue of health financing. So we go into various topics. Please join us on this one. It's on September 1st. And it will be an interesting one. And you can ask your members to actually join the conversation. Those are the series that we have organized for this year. I believe I'll share the QR code again with the Secretariat so that you can all get it for webinar series that we have in the year. So basically, that is what we have on offer, and I hope that we'll engage with the Hansard officers more. And I want to thank you in a special way for having me here. I don't think I've ever engaged with the Hansard as much as I have this week. Like the lady who spoke yesterday, the Member of Parliament, I appreciate Hansard as an academic. Before I joined Parliament, I engaged with Hansard for my research. But I think I've appreciated your work even more sitting in the room. Therefore, I thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing each one of you, either at a webinar or a physical training offered at the CPST. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Professor Kamau, for bringing us to speed on the good works that you are doing in Kenya. I believe a lot of us here have taken a word or two, and we would read more, peruse the documents that would be shared, so that we take decisions and learn from the good works happening in Kenya. So the breakout session that was originally tabled to happen this afternoon would not take place. The breakout session has been called off. We want to close early today so that you can retire to your rooms, rest, and prepare for tomorrow. But we have a last presentation this afternoon. So after this presentation, then we can take all questions for the three presenters, and the questions would be addressed. Ladies and gentlemen, the eighth and last presentation for today will be on the topic training programs offered by the Parliamentary Training Institute, and it will be presented by Dr. Ernest Dao, head of the Parliamentary Training Institute, Parliament of Ghana. Dr. Ernest Dao is a principal assistant clerk and director of the Parliamentary Training Institute, with over 19 years of experience working with the Parliamentary Service of Ghana. He has served as assistant clerk on numerous parliamentary committees, including the committees on local government and rural development, foreign affairs, government assurances, education, employment, social welfare and state enterprises, communication, members holding offices of profit. Dr. Ernest Dao holds a PhD in Legislative Studies from the Center for Legislative Studies at the University of Hull in the United Kingdom, a master's degree in Public Administration International Development from the University of York, and a Master of Science degree in International Relations from the Royal Holloway University of London. Dr. Dao is a graduate of the University of Ghana with a first-class Bachelor's of Arts degree in Political Science and Philosophy. He is a recipient of many academic awards, including the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, Royal Holloway University Scholarship, and the University of Hull International Scholarship. Dr. Dao has participated and delivered papers at local and international conferences and seminars on various topical issues. His recent publication was entitled From a Rubber Stamp to Influencing Policy, a Critical View of Committees in the Parliament of Ghana, published by the Routledge in their Library of Legislative Studies series on parliamentary committees. He is a member of the Political Studies Association PSA Study Group on Parliaments and Legislators, the European Consortium of Political Research Specialist Group on Parliaments, and the Research Committee of Legislative Specialists of the International Political Science Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Dr. Ernest Dao.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, my colleagues, distinguished participants from various African countries. It is an honor to be here to present to you the offerings of the Parliamentary Training Institute of the Parliament of Ghana. The Parliamentary Training Institute was established in Ghana in 2012. But since yesterday, as I attended the opening and this morning, we've learned a lot about the Hansard, the benefit of the Hansard. And with a personal experience, I used and relied on the Hansard heavily during my doctoral research. Since my research was on trust in Parliament, and most of the confirmations I did was based on the Hansard that I consulted. So indeed, in Parliament, we say that what? Parliament is a house of record. And when we say that, which record are we talking about? It is the Hansard and nothing else. But whilst I was entering the hall this morning, a colleague asked me a question. So if you look at the Hansard and its production, how are the people managing and recording all these documents? How are they trained? Do we have any specialized school they attend? Where do they get the knowledge to be able to produce such a document with the accuracy that it requires? And talking to colleagues in this room, I realized that we have no institution specifically to point to say that this is an institution that Hansard officers attend to acquire knowledge in the production of the Hansard. I hope this is a truism, right? Is there an institution that you attend to acquire the knowledge? Right, so I was given a topic to deliver, which is the offering of the Parliamentary Training Institute. As I said, the institute was established in 2012 out of the need to train members of Parliament, officers of the parliamentary service, and then stakeholders engaged in the parliamentary processes on how Parliament works, how Parliament conduct its business. Because oftentimes there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation about how Parliament operates and all that. So the Parliamentary Training Institute in Ghana deliver programs for members of Parliament, right from orientation, new staff, across the year. We also deliver training for our sister parliaments in the sub-region. We deliver training for MMDAs, ministries, departments working in the parliamentary space. And this year has been a very busy year for the Institute as we focus on our training delivery. But for the purposes of this conference, I decided to look at the need for standardization and harmonization of training of Hansard officers in the Parliament in Africa in the age of AI towards the establishment of the African Hansard Academy, which we are glad to say that if in your meetings you pass a resolution to establish the Hansard Academy, the Parliamentary Training Institute can host the academy with our partners so that every year you can send people to learn the work you do. We will leverage on the expertise that you built over the years to build such an academy. So quickly, going through the presentation, I will go through an introduction, look at the current state of training of Hansard officers in Africa, look at the challenges of standardization in training, the case for standardization, AI and the transformation of the Hansard work, and then a roadmap towards establishing this Hansard Academy that I'm talking about or I'm proposing to you. So over the period, we've heard that the Hansard is indeed a document that records the history of Parliament, the proceedings of Parliament, whatever happens on the floor and in the chambers of Parliament. Some proud speakers here have talked about how it promotes transparency, it documents the parliamentary history, and also it ensures accountability in the governance processes, right? But the officers entrusted with this responsibility of capturing these complex issues, the proceedings and all that, how are they trained? Have we ever thought about that? What structured training do we go through? My colleagues, editors here in the Ghanaian Parliament, normally when they come in, they are recruited. The requirement is such that they must have what? English background. They must have first class, second class degrees in English. They are taken through long periods of what? Training. They go to the government secretariat school for between 6 months to a year training in how to type and all those things before they are taken on board. Whilst their counterpart, the procedural clerks, are just taken on board and then they learn through the process. So you see that they go through some rigorous training initially, right? This does not pertain to Parliament of Ghana alone, but in other parliaments you realize that the training processes are what? Regimented. And now, as one of our colleagues here delivered on the AI and how to transcribe, you realize that increasingly there is a need for what? Continuous training and development in the AI, how to use ICT to help your work. So we realized that over the period, a small research I did, come to this question: do we have a structured training program for Hansard officers, reporters, proofreaders, editors, and sub-editors? Do we have institutions providing such training in Africa and elsewhere? What form of training do we provide? All right, what are the competency requirements? What are the competency gaps? Have we done training needs assessment to identify as Hansard officials? These are the training needs how do we build capacity in formal training institutions to ensure that you keep doing the job that you are doing. But I realize that if you look at the current state of training, the training normally are done through international partnership and support. So you have the British Parliament or the Hansard, we all belong to the Commonwealth. They will come in, we will send few officers there to do some training, right? The Commonwealth CPA also provides some training for Hansard officials. There are bilateral training. Some colleagues here, we met in India, the institute there in India, Pride, to go through some training. But you realize that all these partnerships and training, both at the regional and the national level, are regimented. They are not coherent. They are not unified. And you have an association like this, you meet biannually to deliberate on it. Of course, the conferences, yes, you deliberate on various matters, but what structured programs or training do you have for your staff? That is why, in this case, we are proposing for the establishment of the Hansard Academy, because we realize that even at the regional level, if you go to SADC, ECOWAS Parliament, the AU Parliament, they all require what? Hansard officials. Normally they go there, do the Hansard, and then return to their what? Countries. How do we provide this structured training in an academy for Hansard officials? All right. As Prof came here, we have the Center for Parliamentary Studies in Kenya. The Parliamentary Training Institute is in Ghana. NAILS is in Nigeria. How do we collaborate to ensure that this academy takes shape? All right. So as I said, officers in Ghana, when they come in, go through 6-month to 1 year training. And after that, they learn on the job. They learn from their colleagues who are experienced, already doing the job and all that. They will attend one meeting here and there and gain some experience. Apart from that, that is it. If you also look at the training component, we train them in reporting and editing, technical skills, using software, audio technology, and other AI tools, and also on parliamentary knowledge. You're supposed to be abreast with the procedures of Parliament. You have to get knowledge and the workflow systems, and then other continuous professional development programs that you undertake. How do we then standardize across countries in Africa so that we can build the Hansard Academy to be hosted by the PTI? I propose it to you, take it on board and come out with your recommendation that the next meeting you would have gone ahead to establish the institute. We are ready to host it in our at the Parliamentary Training Institute. So we realize that challenges towards standardization, inconsistency in the quality of transcript. So if you take various Hanzards, you will see that are the standard unified? Are they? Yes, there will be some local biases, but since an association coming together, we have to look at the standard, which must be applied across board. Okay. Then there is also slow adaptation to emerging technologies, like the AI issues that my brother came to talk about. Then you have gaps in AI literacy and data ethics, and then resource limitations for various parliaments. So that is why the academy is really important. There is resources. All parliaments are not the same. So if consciously you've built an academy which is yours, you bring experts from your own people to come, meet for a period, do the training and all that. It will minimize the cost of training these officials. As I said, we have to also start to identify key competencies, do a needs assessment of the Hansard department across countries, and really know what is required. Then we build a structured model or the course so that this will be structured, approved by the association, so that when the academy is implementing that model, we know that the standard is harmonized across various departments. So we propose that we develop the framework around these areas in terms of your verbatim reporting techniques, the procedural issues, editing, proofreading, the use of AI, ethical consistencies, and all those things, so that if we're able to identify the areas that we can build consensus on and harmonize the training, the academy can take off, build the necessary models for your staff. As I said, I repeat, the PTI is ready to host the African Hansard Academy if you give your blessing to it. And as a take home, I want all of us to go out from this conference with this. If you don't make any proposal, at least go with this proposal that coming your next meeting, you would have established the African Hansard Society to be hosted Africa, various parts of Africa, but the Parliamentary Training Institute is ready to do that. I think Prof will collaborate with us so that we get it done. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dafo. Can we please give him another round of applause? We look forward to hosting the African Hansard Academy in the Parliamentary Training Institute of Ghana. We'll take, that was our final presentation for the day. So we'll move on to take questions and then answers on the final 3 presentations that we've taken so far. And to do that, we'll invite our chair for this session, Ms. Dlamani, to come and coordinate or moderate the question and answer session. Shall we please put our hands together as she takes the podium?
Thank you so much. Distinguished colleagues, or should I say Hansard ambassadors. Since I have hindsight eyes, I'm thinking, since we're from our lunch, the way some are sitting isn't convincing enough, and my belt as well isn't doing justice anymore as it was in the morning. With that said, may I kindly ask us to stand just for 30 seconds, and so that we stretch our love handles, that's if you have. Like, you know, so that the fufu and jollof, you know, go to their respective chambers in our tummies. Have we? We may be seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'd like us to appreciate the presentations that have been made. Beautiful insight right there. We really appreciate. Having said that, firstly, it was a presentation on automatic translation. And it's a common tendency that when a certain word which we don't understand, you know, you find somebody nodding like, as if you understand, yet we don't at times. Some of the words, should I say technological jargon, I missed. And I'm hoping that we'll be given the platform to ask questions regarding to that AI technology. The second one, rather before I go to the second one, it was said that parliaments must invest in capacity building. Yes, that was said by Director ICT Parliament of Ghana, Mr. Leslie. So after him, the following presentations attested to that, as they were about the institutions respectively from Kenya and Ghana that give us opportunities to actually pursue or learn even more on how to execute our Hansard work. We really appreciate that. The second one was on opportunities for African parliaments at CPST. There was a question that was asked by the professor. She said, what will be your job in 2030? And in my mind, I was like, 2030? Not close. And then I had something petting me, or should I say tapping. 2030 is close. What will be your job? So we have to think about that. And we also appreciate, as CHEA Africa, that CPST envisages a global mandate to actually help us to have a platform whereby we shall ensure that we execute work in a professional way. That presentation, valued colleagues, was on parliamentary training programs by the Institute, the Parliamentary Training Institute of Ghana. Our dear doctor here also mentioned that Hansard, or was attesting to the fact that Hansard is indeed the defender of the truth. He mentioned that as he was furthering his studies, one of his references was Hansard. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, kindly allow me to give the floor this opportunity to ask questions if you have. This is time for us to have our interrogations, whether in a form of questions, comments, however you'd want it to be. This is your platform. I'd like us to do it this way. We have two, if we do have, we have two from the right side. In the middle, we have two, and on my left-hand side, we also take two, so that we make a balance. Thank you. Time for questions or interventions. I hope the Secretariat will be helping in documenting the interrogations. Thank you. There's a hand over there in the middle. Oh, you may go. You may go.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ebenezer, Hansard reporter with Ghana. My question is to Mr. Adeko. As an industry player, I know that, and I mean the industry player is to you, Mr. Adeko. But personally, I believe that it would be best if our departments come together with a procurement of automated transcription applications. But I want to know from your professional point of view.
Excuse me, my dear colleague. I've just heard word that our ICT facilitator isn't around for now. He's in a meeting. So, valued Hansard ambassadors, if by any chance there's a question regarding ICT, may we please reserve it for now. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
You may continue.
My question is actually for the ICT. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did you say questions on ICT? We don't ask them now?
Precisely.
I heard you right? Okay, let me reserve that one. My second one is about the idea of the Hansard Academy. It's a very welcome idea. For many years, the song has been, there is no training, there's no university where people go to train in Hansard work. I think we needed this yesterday. And I have a suggestion. I was looking at let me even call them our forefathers, like Al-Hajj, we have Shabarara in South Africa, we have Walube in Uganda, we have Wakim in Zambia. I still remember a few of them that are still with us. And those would be our first facilitators in that academy. They are our encyclopedia. My suggestion, let's not think of buildings. We can operate the way ESAMI, people in East Africa, ESAMI? They organize trainings in different regions. It's about getting a facility. They can say maybe this time we're in West Africa, we shall train from Ghana for 2 weeks. People apply, travel to Ghana, and then they benefit. The next training, they say we are going to East Africa. They look for a place maybe in Uganda or in Kenya or Tanzania, and they organize those trainings. Next, they can say West Central Africa, we are going wherever. We can use that kind of mode of training, but we needed it yesterday. And let's step into, as I wind up, into the brains of people like Al-Hajj when they are still with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other intervention? My brother?
Thank you very much. Since we are reserving our comments and questions to the paper delivered by Prof and Doctor, I'll be specifically, making my comment and then ask, of course, maybe probably my colleague delegates will ponder on that and maybe going forward and have what to do with it. From the paper that was presented by Dr. Ernest, in fact, it's a serious exposition for all of us as members of Commonwealth Hansard Association to go and ponder on. Because our parliamentary institutes, thank God he has mentioned that of Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria. There's also another institute in South Africa, the ATI. They try to train or organize courses that may be meant to serve the Hansard reporters. Now, with this national institute trying to bring it, like in National Assembly, for example, or in Nigeria, we have the NILS that he mentioned, and then they have also carved out a kind of training whereby they trained to issue certificate in verbatim reporting. Then they also have a program for HND in verbatim reporting as well. Now the question is, which may not be directed to the doctor, is this. Yes, having an academy is very, very important. But I want to let our colleagues know that time has come for us to properly professionalize. And that institute can be born by this community, which necessarily don't have to be domiciled specifically in Ghana here, but can be domesticated by our national parliament. In all of this, we should be thinking of professionalizing the service we offer and what we do in parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other? Yes. Colleagues, please kindly remember to mention your names and perhaps the parliamentary institution you are from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Stephen Mwanga from Uganda. Now, I see that we are very disjointed on this training thing, because you see Kenya is offering something, training. Now there's also something in Ghana also offering training, we need a harmonized position. But away from that, you see this community of parliamentary editors growing. I think when we met in Namibia in 2016, we were hardly 50 people. I think here we are close to maybe 300. But also, there are many people who didn't come here. Now, I also noticed that these trainings being proposed are basically skills-based. But I think we should be moving away from that to probably starting an academically related training, maybe at the point of a postgraduate. Yeah, because these parliaments have come to stay. They will not go away tomorrow. So, I don't know whether how this can be adopted, but my suggestion would be that first, we harmonize the content offered in Ghana, the content offered in Kenya, and any other places, I think South Africa also, and get harmonized content for training, but not training skills, for skills, moving forward to offering an academically related course, maybe at the level of a postgraduate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I can see the questions or the interventions are very brief. That means people want to retire early today, unlike in the morning. Any other? So that in the absence of any interventions, we then give our resource persons to respond. Thank you. Any other? Going once, twice? Yes, my dear.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mercy Nalusiba is my name, from Uganda. I appreciate the presenters, especially on the training. Mine is probably a suggestion or a comment. I do note that in the course of our executing our duty as parliamentary reporters, we also have a section of people with disabilities. In fact, yesterday I noted that for every person who was speaking, there was probably an, what are they called? Yes, sign language. So probably as we also think of this institute, we can also think of the way Hansard reporting is evolving to also include such aspects of how we can be able to incorporate people with disabilities in the way we report our speeches. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to believe we are done with the interventions. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, may I give the opportunity to our doctor and our professor to respond to the respective questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think, thank you for the questions. Basically, the questions were somewhere in the form of contributions, really, and I see that it has started to generate some debate whether the academy should be localized to national parliaments for them to establish, or it should be a global thing, or whether it should be moving from one location to the other. Let's say, for instance, if this year is in West Africa, it moves to East Africa and Central Africa and the rest. And that is a healthy debate. So I think you come to one form of a decision or the other when the delegates meet to debate on this matter and to look at the form it should take. But I was just having a chat with Prof, and we were thinking that the Parliamentary Training Institutes in place now could think of something. The academy, yes, can be there, but it must have a location, right, to coordinate the activities from. It must be headquartered somewhere, right, so that they coordinate. During your conferences, they can be having training alongside. Where delegates may come, you may send in trainers to also come and then have training. The curriculum and the models can come from you. You have to put a team together to develop it. And then you are all members of the academy. It depends on how you want to structure it. And if you need any support, we are here to help you fashion out the academy or the Hansard Academy that you want to train your officers. Another colleague also said that, okay, it is a skills-based training and we should move to an academic related training where degrees and postgraduate certificates can be issued. Yes, it can be done, but you can start from the space and then transition to a stage where, having built a number of capacities, you can then offer postgraduate training in, let's say, proofreading or editing and the various aspects of the work that you do. Another colleague mentioned harmonization of content. Yes, it is good that all the content are harmonized so that you can create some kind of standard across countries as to how Hansard and the verbatim reports are developed. So I think I've answered, I've done justice to the questions that came. Thank you very much.
Thank you, delegates, for the comments. I want to pick up the one on standardizing and PTIs to come together, I think coming from Uganda. Definitely there's a lot of fragmentation in training, not just in parliamentary work, but probably even in universities. You look at these universities offering a course in political science. Is it exactly the same as the political science in another university? The subjects will be the same, but not necessarily exactly duplicate. So I think there's a lot of thinking about how to standardize. We've been working on the idea of a Parliamentary Training Institutes Association. And the Hansard Association is a big challenge for us because you're able to get together and agree on a key common issues as Hansard officers. For us as the PTIs, maybe we can come up with the idea of how we can have a general standard of what we call parliamentary courses. The idea of an academy was interesting, Hansard Academy, but of course it's good to think about it and ask yourselves, are we going to have one on Hansard, one for researchers, one for clerks at table, one for... So it's something to ask yourselves, do we want that route? Or do we want maybe to have particular courses that we call standard mandatory courses that everyone wanting to be a Hansard officer must take, and therefore there is a standard way of the way they are all delivered among the PTIs around the world. So there are many things to think about even as you Hansarders think of your own academy. It's a good idea, it's a challenge, but we have to think, even when you think of curriculum, you mentioned a few gurus in Hansard who will sit down through the curriculum. Those of us in this business, curriculum writing is a professional area. People have PhDs in curriculum development. So the fact that you've been an officer for many years doesn't necessarily qualify you to develop curricula. So there's a lot more that we can discuss maybe when the PTIs meet in November. We are organizing a meeting with IPU. And when we do that is to think through the various specializations within parliaments that we can then have some harmonized curriculum on. And that requires people who are both practitioners and experts in the subject areas. In terms of collaboration with universities, I think our colleague from Uganda, it's you who asked about academic programs. We've been trying to work with universities. We have a MOU with the University of Nairobi and with McGill University. There's a program we've just finished with women parliamentarians, and we'll open it up to women from all over Africa. Again, it's not also very easy and straightforward. Training is a very competitive space, and everybody is trying to find capturing your businesses. Everybody is trying to capture the business, you as trainees. So we will see again whether we can maybe pick one. I love the University of Hull, actually. Do you know there's a PhD in legislative studies? It's not a law degree, it's actually a parliamentary training. So if we could get one university that's already seasoned, and then we agree with them and come up with a master's, PhDs, that is focused on parliamentary work, especially for Africans. There's still a lot of work to be done. As you think about the academy, think through the other structural issues that need to be thought about in a more academic way, that the programs you do then can pass the test of time. I thank you very much for your time, and once again, thank you for inviting me. And now Hansard remain more closer to my heart than it was before. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Once again, Hansard Gurus, may we give them a patting hand of applause. Those were very insightful presentations. We really appreciate, especially the word training is really on my mind. There's a joke that went around at some point that a certain member of parliament in some country that I won't mention once stood up and was like, Mr. Speaker, my Hansard isn't working, meaning the microphone. So there's really need for both, that is, us as officers, parliamentary officers, to be trained, as well as members of parliament, for them to appreciate what we do on a daily basis. Am I right or wrong, members? Having said that, just before I sit down, I'd like to challenge us as CHEA members as we go to our respective countries, especially on the intervention on disability, coming alive to disability in our parliaments. I'd like us to broaden our scope as African parliaments, especially on incorporating what disability is, ensuring that we embrace the society. That's one. And then if you'd like to know how I perceive you, my dear colleagues, before I say that, Professor, I'd like to appreciate you appreciating us as Hansard officers or officials. When I look at my colleagues, I see a group of elderly people. Not that you're elderly, right? They're like a group of elderly people, African elderly people, that is, who do not know how to count their own money, but can perceive a one-week pregnancy, right? Yes, they can tell that one is 1 week pregnant, but they can't count their own money. If you were to look, a person outside Hansard, if they were to look at some officers when they are working, some of us, our glasses even come to this point. They can no, a comma is needed here. And that particular officer, if they were to go out, maybe go to the restroom or go have some coffee, come back, they would still, no, the comma is misplaced. It has to be this side. So your work is really commendable. Is really commendable. May we clap hands for ourselves. We really do a lot, colleagues, especially taking into account that some of us, as one colleague mentioned, we found ourselves working for parliaments, and to be specific, for the Hansard departments. But the question is, was there was there a course that you had taken before? You'll find that no, there wasn't. Some maybe bank on the experience they have on the linguistic front, but you really do your work, and thank you very much. At this point in time, may I take my borrowed powers and give them back to the program directors for the session, and thank you for lending me your ear. Thank you, colleagues.
Please, let's give one more hand clap to Ms. Lamani. She did an excellent job moderating the session, didn't she? Yes, we're grateful. All too soon, we've come to the end of today's session. Day 3 is done and dusted. Let's put our hands together for ourselves. We are doing well. All right. So we have a few announcements before we leave, and let's kindly take our seats, listen, and then we will, once we're done, we can proceed and end or close the session. Raymond?
All right, so we have packed snacks for everybody, all delegates. So please be seated. The ushers will come in and then serve us with the packed snacks. So you don't have to go out there for the snacks. We'll be served right where we are seated. So once again, thank you very much. My name is Raymond Kakudain, Hansard reporter with the Parliament of Ghana. And with me is
Emanuela Aqua Dennis, Hansard reporter.
So we've been your MCs this afternoon. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.